Welcome back, everybody, to Let's Play Wario Land 4 for the Game Boy Advance. Last time we finished up the Mystic Lake and Monsoon Jungle, and today we're tackling the boss of the Emerald Passageway, which is Cractus. So, a few things to note about the four main passageway bosses is that they follow very specific guidelines as far as what actually ends up affecting the ending that I'll be covering in due time. But first off, let's go ahead and talk about the new items within the item shop. So these things, even though they follow a similar price tag, they actually act as specific weak points for each of the four bosses you fight. So, for example, say the Black Dragon, for example, that's going to be more effective against Cractus than, say, any of these other three, and so forth. And I'm not going to be using these for the boss fights. I'm going to be tackling them with Vanilla Wario, except for one of them. You'll see who that is in good due time, and once you see me doing so, you probably won't blame me. So, yeah. So, each of the bosses here have a time limit, much like Spoiled Rotten did. However, there will be 3 treasure chests in the background. And once the timer hits 1 minute, each of these chests will start disappearing. And these affect the ending. And you generally want to keep these chests intact if you want to get the best ending. That also means that on top of having to deal with this timer, you need to finish these bosses off pretty quickly if you want to make sure you have all of that treasure intact going into the final battle. This obviously gets lower within each difficulty, meaning that on top of the 3 minutes we already have to work with in hard mode, you would only have 2 in super hard mode, meaning that you only really get a minute to work with in the higher difficulties. It sucks. I know. And that is why I'm going to be exploiting the hell out of one of the bosses later on. Cractus I chose first because he's the easiest out of the 4 to exploit, as long as the hitbox on his head does not screw you up. And I actually had a test recording where that didn't quite pan out as well, unfortunately. Like that! I swear sometimes the hitbox is just completely uncooperative, and you have to land on him with a ground pound or you won't be doing any additional damage. But basically speaking, you want to get him locked up like this if you want to keep him in a pattern where you can easily exploit the hell out of him and he can't attack you. Otherwise, Cractus can actually be kind of challenging. It's just a matter of if you can exploit this or not. And unfortunately, his hitbox is working against me right now, and it's not making me too happy. Also, on top of that, I'm not a big fan of the GBA controller. I'd much rather use the Game Boy Micro or the regular Advance, but that's the only thing I have to work with for this video. You also want to avoid his saliva if you want to avoid getting slowed down for the fight. You want to guide his arms so they don't hit you. Make sure to use the ladders to guide those arms so they don't end up being a pain in the rear end. And generally speaking, you don't always want to hang out on the ladders either whenever you're waiting for him, because this will end up putting Cractus within higher elevations and you can't hit his head. So basically speaking, as soon as he leaves the screen, you want to bait him out by sitting on the bottommost portion of the screen, and then you jump on the ladder, while avoiding his arms, of course. There's a lot of multitasking involved, but if you can get him within that pattern of where you just hit him over and over again, Cractus is easily the best boss to exploit without having the need of using any of the shop's items. So, yeah. Anywho, that clears up one of the 4 main passageways, meaning that we have 3 left to go. I'm going to be tackling one of the Ruby Passageways levels, and then for the rest of the video, I'm going to be toying around with the minigame shop for the duration of the video, because I did promise that after completing each passageway's boss, I will be doing that. But this here is the Ruby Passage. This here is basically the machine based passageway of the 4. Meaning we'll be running into industrial themed levels, mechanical things, all of that jazz. Not necessarily limited to electric based levels per se. Again, Wario Land 4 certainly has an interesting take on what it decides to do for its distinctive level themes, and not one level is the same as the other, and that's what I truly appreciate out of this game. And look at how uncannily realistic the background here looks. This definitely kind of delves into that surreal atmosphere I was talking about with Wario Land 4, where things can just get really absurd at points, and it makes a game of this caliber stand out for sure. Oh, wow. I've never had my money just get stuck in a wall like that before, but whatever. I'm a greedy little punk, and I'm going to collect all of the money I can hoard. So the main gimmick of the Curious Factory are these platforms. Basically speaking, if you jump on the edge of these platforms, you will move it, and if you stay on top of or the bottom of these platforms, they won't do anything. And you have to deal with this on top of having to handle aggressive-ish enemies as you're doing so. And this actually gets harder in the later difficulties, and that's primarily because of this one specific enemy they add in hard and super hard mode that isn't present in normal mode. I'll be covering that whenever we run into said enemy, but yeah, it's all the more reason that you'd want to go out and play the other difficulties, because sometimes the game straight up adds new enemies on top of the ones you're already fighting within the standard playthrough of the game, and that's pretty dope. That's pretty cool. Why can't other games have more hard modes like this, damn it? I mean, Metroid Zero Mission certainly comes close for an interesting hard mode, but, you know, still to this day, I don't think anything's really beaten Wario Land 4 out for me as far as, like, actually making, you know, a different playthrough of each difficulty much more worth it than any other game out there of its caliber. Still, how does a game from 2001 manage this? Come on, guys, step up your game. And, yeah, in case you guys are posting comments in part 3, I am aware that I missed a bonus game in Monsoon Jungle. I'll probably go back and cover that in due time, as well as, you know, go back to the Hall of Hieroglyphs and get that high score I'd been meaning to get. But, the schedule hasn't been all too kind to me lately. But yeah, those are the birds. Those are the birds that will attack you on sight as you're climbing up these things, and they can definitely be a big hassle in super hard mode because there's even more of them than usual. But anywho, before I lose my train of thought, because that is something I'm very prone to these days because of my ADHD, my schedule has not been so kind to me because I finally found a place to move out into. I guess it's never too late for anybody, I suppose, but, yeah, I finally found my own place, my apartment, and I will be moving there within May the 1st as of this year of recording. I'm very much looking forward to it. It's a new experience for me. It's something I've been wanting to do for a very long time, and it's crazy to think that this is finally, you know, happening. My financial situation isn't as bad as it used to be anymore. This is probably the most money I've hoarded in, like, forever, ever. And it's just a part of me growing up, I guess. I've just now been better at doing it than I ever have been, and, yeah, that's why, my recordings have been a bit more unsteady as of late, but I am trying to get all of these videos edited, within due time, so that way I don't have anything to worry about, in between these uploads. But yeah, this puzzle is actually pretty cool. Again, I really love the bonus rooms because this one actually has you tossing the ball all across the room, all the while dealing with that thing over in the corner there. Because if you haven't noticed, these things not only flatten Wario, but they actually kind of shake up the room a little bit, and they kind of, stop you in your tracks from what you would normally be doing. But anywho, Flat Wario is an ability that Wario could take on that actually lets him drift in a very specific way. You just kind of need to hold the button in the direction you want to, like, fly within in order to get within certain cracks in the wall. And I won't lie, as far as abilities are concerned, and as far as like how the game builds puzzles around them, Flat Wario might just be my favorite. I don't know. There's a lot of clever shit you can do with that, just from like the fact that you have like narrow passageways off above pits alone that you can easily work with to make a very, very interesting puzzle out of. But I don't know. Maybe I'm just weird or picky, and I'm just talking a bunch of nonsense. But anyway, give me your money. Give me your sustenance. Ugh. But yeah, something people will mostly miss right here. Now, the only way I could, possibly imagine anyone, figuring this out would probably be the conveyor belt sticking out of the wall here, as opposed to the other ones where, the conveyor belt is kind of rooted within the wall. Yeah, like this one, for example. It's not within the wall, but this one up here is. And I guess it kind of stands out, I suppose. But unfortunately for us, once we hit the next level, a lot of these secret area things or what have you will be a lot less obvious moving forward. But this level is actually a lot smaller than you think. Most of the challenge actually kind of comes from the escape sequence, and that's primarily because those spinny platform things we've been riding throughout most of the levels so far, they're actually going to be super prevalent within the escape sequence, and you have to make sure you don't mess your jumps up or you will basically fuck up and miss out on a lot of things. A lot of things, that's for certain. Does this break with Flame Wario? No? Okay. So I guess I'm just gonna have to use this then. Let's see what's down here. Oh, well, I guess I can just do this ahead of time, huh? Ow. So yeah, on top of the platforms that you move manually, you also have these that are a constant motion, and believe me, when you're fighting against a time limit on top of dealing with these bird-like enemies, it's a lot more hectic than you'd think at first glance. And here we are. Awesome, awesome. I'm glad I remembered to do this without, heading towards the escape sequence first, but God bless. And I was on to something, and I just kind of forgot what I was saying. Anywho, escape time. And this is, despite it being the first level of the Ruby Passageway, again, as I've stated before, this is probably one of the most hectic escape sequences in the entire game. Simply because of those moving platforms alone. And you gotta cross a lot of them. Ow. Ah. No, I wanted that! Shit! Get over here. Oh god. Of course we got these. Of course we got these. But that might actually work in my favor, because I do believe we can use this to our advantage. Or... yeah, I'm pretty sure the next room actually requires us to be flattened if we want to get this next chest. We'll just have to wait and find out. Hasten yourselves. Jeez, guys. Alright, can we get lucky? Oh my god. He almost drifted off somewhere where I didn't want him for a second. Oh god, that's always the worst. Jesus Christ. And now here's where the fun begins. Oh boy. And on top of that, you have these little ass platforms too. Oh god. Fun times. Fun times. So I'm probably gonna have to remain quiet for this. Alright. And we got the high score as well. Just barely. Alright. Yeah, this is definitely one of the trickiest levels to get a high score in for sure. Because, like, you saw how close my threshold was right there. Meaning you basically have to get all of the chests if you want just enough money to reach it. Again, a lot of levels are just way more stressful to get the high score in than others, regardless of how late they are within their passageways. And, I mean, you guys kind of already know this because the Hall of Hieroglyphs follows a weird format for you to even go through if you want to even, you know, think about getting the high score in that level in the first place. Oh boy. Alright, so with that cleared up, I do believe that leaves us with just enough time to play one of the mini games that this game has in store for us. So we'll just see how long that takes me, I guess. No better time to show it off than now, I guess. But we're gonna start with Wario's Home Run Derby. And this one is a bit more forgiving than the other two, and that's primarily because with the other ones, you mess up once and that's game over. Like, you don't get any second chances. But with this one, you have strikes and fouls to work with. And as long as you don't get 3 strikes or too many fouls and a strike on top of that, you should be good to go. And on top of that, they reset with each home run. You don't have to worry about swinging it a specific way to get a home run. You just have to make sure it's not a foul ball. And with each 3 home runs you score, you do get a frog coin out of it. However, this is also the slowest minigame in the bunch too. So if you're wanting to stack up on frog coins super quickly, then this is not the minigame to do it. And I'm not very good at this. So basically, you want to watch the head patterns of the pitcher here to the left. Based off of how he shakes his head, he will give you a different ball each time. And there's some pretty weird shots in there, trust me. So you have to pay extra close attention. Yeah, it's like it's just sped up randomly halfway through that. So, in this case, like, I would actually pay more attention to the ball than the pitcher. That's how I usually play it, is to keep my eye more on the ball than the actual pitcher, because, if you have good enough reaction time, then you don't really have to worry about that too much, I think. But, yeah. I've been getting a lot of slow balls here lately. I swear the slow balls always throw me off, too. I don't know why. That one curved. Got another home run for good measure. I'm pretty sure they meant for you to hold your Game Boy Advance in a specific way for this minigame, considering that the Game Boy Advance original model is kind of a widescreen-esque, like, looking console. And, I mean, it makes sense, because the only button you're using in this minigame is A. Heck, every minigame you play only really uses the A button. You don't have to do any movement of any kind, so... Let's let's see how I do moving forward, because I might end up biting my tongue. No, I know that was my fault. I swung that one way too late. Been getting a lot of generous balls, though. Like, a lot of them have just curved perfectly for me to land an easy home run. Look at this. Yeah, I'm not worried about frog coin collecting now for that one boss I was alluding to. What is a baseball minigame doing in a Wario game of all things? I mean, maybe this is kind of the thing that builds up to the strangeness of the WarioWare games, and they kind of just have an anything goes kind of vibe to them, but why baseball? But yeah, we'll tackle these other two within due time, but for now, I'm gonna go ahead and end off this video. So next time on Let's Play Wario Land 4 for the Game Boy Advance, we're gonna tackle the toxic landfill. So thank you guys for watching, and see you all then.